Welcome to Straightforward Conversation with Garry Hunter. My guest today is Bob Handley, Vice President of Matthews Insurance here in Athens. Bob's a graduate of Athens High School and has a Bachelor of Science degree, or excuse me, a Bachelor of Business Administration degree from Ohio University. And I believe you've been with the Matthews Insurance Agency since 1973.
That's correct, yeah.
Well, welcome, Bob. I'm glad to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure.
Tonight's topic is going to be insurance. Bob, why don't we start the discussion tonight by you just telling me, if I want to become an insurance agent, do I just sign up with your agency, or is there something I have to do in advance?
I think it's a little bit more detailed than that, but basically, to become an insurance agent, you should probably have a college degree. A lot of the companies that are involved ask that you be a college graduate. Not necessarily a business major, but a college degree. That's the big thing, and then getting hooked up with a local agency or a company rep.
Is there a licensing requirement for an insurance
There is.
agent?
The state of Ohio requires a 40-hour course, at which time you complete a state test.
What's the difference between, say, an insurance agent and an insurance adjuster? I know a lot of people sometimes confuse and think that the insurance agent also does the adjusting. What's the difference?
Okay. An agent often gets involved with a claims situation. The adjuster is the company representative who works with the person who's had a loss in determining the damage that has been done or the loss that's been sustained, and working with the individual, making a claims payment for either replacement of the damaged item or repair to that item. That's the adjuster. The agent works as the representative who sells the insurance policy, reviews coverages, values, premiums, and works directly with the client or customer.
I know that Matthews Insurance Agency is what we call an independent insurance agency. What does that mean?
Okay. There are several types of agencies or agents. Myself, I'm an independent agent, more or less an independent contractor. We have contracts with several insurance carriers from the state of Ohio and other states. There are direct writers, state farms, nationwide, that only represent one carrier. And then there are brokers, which are large independent agents. I feel, being an independent agent, we have more opportunities, more companies that we deal with that can fit an individual's needs, be it either personal or business needs. More opportunities, more companies.
I'd like to maybe put you on the spot a little bit here. What would you say would describe the personality traits of a insurance agent that is going to be the most effective in being able to sell insurance?
Well, I think first of all you have to have some intelligence to start out with, okay? But I think you need to have an agent as a person who can sit down and listen to someone, can make recommendations, can see the needs of that individual and address those needs. An agent should be someone who the customer, like yourself, can come to in time of need. We get involved with people lots of times have problems and try to work with them. An agent should be someone who, and I tell my people that I work 24 hours a day. If you have a problem, call me at the office or at home. So someone that is willing to put in the time and effort and be available to the person.
So you seem to be contradicting a lot of the normal image of an insurance agent that is kind of high pressure sales. You're more in the vein of a low key, address the concerns.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think, I've never been a person who's been real high pressure. I think if we make people aware of what's available and the cost and ramifications of this coverage or not getting this coverage, I think we as an agent are doing our job more so than trying to sell. Of course, we make our money selling policies, but we also have a responsibility to the person we're dealing with.
I'd like to take the discussion into some specific kinds of insurance. Let's start off with, say, life insurance. If I'm, let's just use me as an example, a professional, I'm coming to you, and let's reverse my age a little bit, I'm 25 years old, not 40-something.
Not 35.
Not 35, yeah, more than 35. And I don't, I have potential of certain earnings in the future. What would you begin to address and discuss with me in considering life insurance?
Well, I think if you're a young person coming in, the possibilities for life insurance are much better at a younger age because of the rates being lower at that time in an individual's life. The person's health is much better at age 25 instead of 45. Things start going wrong. So I think I would recommend that the individual look at some type of permanent coverage at that time because of the low cost and the possibility of the maximum protection and saving some money that way involved with the whole life where a part of it set aside for the premium and some of it goes into a savings account.
Are you looking at things like whether I'm married, whether I have children, those kind of things?
Yeah, as you get older and have a wife and have children, I think you need to look at how best to protect those people, those needs, future college, and the possibility of something happening to you at that age. And I think because of that, maybe term life insurance, which is low cost but maximum protection, is a possibility to consider.
I know when I would, years ago when I would talk to my parents and stuff and they were discussing life insurance, it was primarily people that are more than 60 at this point in time. Their concept of life insurance was a burial fund.
Right.
That's not the case today, is it?
I don't think so. With the interest rates and the time value of money, you can substantially increase the cash value of policies over a period of time. If you start a $100,000 life policy at age 25, by the time you're 65, you've had that protection, but you also have a pretty substantial amount of money that you can use from that policy for retirement or whatever the case may be. So yeah, I think the burial fund idea is maybe not appropriate today.
Well, thanks, Buck. Stay tuned after this commercial break. Bob and I will return, and we're going to continue our discussion on different kinds of insurance that are available to the public. Welcome back to Straightforward Conversation. My guest this evening is Bob Handley of Matthews Insurance. Bob, we were talking about before the break the life insurance. I'd like to change gears a little bit now with you and talk about some other kinds of insurance. The next one that most people seem to have most frequently is homeowners insurance. If I'm a new homeowner, what would you be discussing with me in determining an amount of homeowners insurance, whether I should even have it?
Right. Well, a home is probably an individual or a couple's biggest investment in their lifetime, so we have to be sure to protect it adequately. When someone that we're speaking to, we want to make sure the value of the home insurance is enough to replace the house in a catastrophic type of loss. So we will come in and do evaluation based on some computer software, make some suggestions, and work with the individuals that way.
It seems to me that most people are willing to insure the value of their house for what they pay for it. Beyond that, it becomes a little bit more questionable.
Right.
Do you suggest they review their situation periodically?
Absolutely. And the market value, unfortunately, in this area is sometimes not what replacement cost is. And our concern is the replacement of your home if something happens to it. So we try to meet with our individual clients regularly, once a year maybe, or once every 2 or 3 years to review those things.
I know a lot of times part of the homeowners policy, I think, is also the personal property that you might have within the home. And a lot of times people will insure the house for maybe replacement value or a fair market value, but then they'll put down $10,000 or $20,000 for the contents in the home. What suggestions would you have for people?
Well, the standard homeowners today provides oftentimes an additional 50% of the home value on personal property and as much as 75%, which gives you an individual a lot more coverage to replace their personal items. One of the things that we recommend strongly is replacement cost on contents, so that if you lose your personal property, we're going to reimburse you for the actual replacement cost of those items and not the depreciated value of them.
Now, you've talked me into it. I've insured my house for replacement value. I've insured the contents for replacement value, and I have that catastrophic fire. And now I have to come to you and tell you that what am I supposed to do? Make a a mental list from my house of all the contents? How are you going to replace these items in my
Well,
house?
we ask an individual, we recommend taking an inventory of their personal property, but in today's technology, maybe a video of the contents would be sufficient, and keep that somewhere off premises so that if you did have a catastrophic loss, it would be easy enough to review a video of what you actually had and what was lost.
We know that while you may recommend that, in reality, probably not too many people do those things. So what is the policy of most insurance companies that in making replacements for personal items?
We more or less take the word of the insured, and it's their responsibility to provide us with an inventory of the things that were actually damaged or destroyed. And we use their word for it and go from there.
Use reasonable values for things.
Yes, yes. Something I'd like to just mention in regards to homeowners, in Athens we have in the past had a very big problem, flood insurance or flood losses, and with the rerouting of the river, knock on wood, we haven't had a problem for almost 30 years. But unfortunately, as time goes and the channel fills in, I'd like to stress the concern that the agents and individuals should have with the possibility of flood, because the standard homeowners does not provide flood coverage. One of the things that the banks are insisting on when you buy a home in an area or refinance, that you purchase flood insurance. And I would again stress the fact that an individual deal with their agent on flood insurance, which is a separate coverage altogether, and be concerned with that exposure here in Athens and the surrounding area.
It's been said here in Athens that you can either build on a hillside that may slip over, your house may slip over the hillside, or you can build on the flat and then have it taken by a flood.
Right.
You've discussed the flood insurance. Does your normal homeowner's policy cover slippage or earthquake problems?
Not normally. There are policies and coverages available to address the earthquake and the slippage problem, and depending on your own situation, I think that would be something to look into with the agent or the company that you're insuring with. And if you have a problem or a possibility down the road, that coverage be secured to protect your investment.
What about if I have I buy an old house and I'm restoring it and the pipes freeze in the wintertime? Is that normally covered under a homeowner's policy?
Under the normal homeowner's freezing of plumbing and ice damage or weight of ice and snow is covered under the homeowner's policy.
What distinguishes one homeowner's company from another if I'm looking at one? Is it just premium?
Well, I think today premium is important to everyone, the cost of the insurance. But I think you also have to look at the agent that you're dealing with and also the company. There are many fine insurance companies in Athens, in Ohio, in the country. Consumer Reports does a very fine job on an annual basis of reviewing insurance companies based on their claim paying history. I think you should be aware of the companies that are rated favorably on their claims settlements, because you never know how good your insurance policy is until you have a claim. And I think reviewing Consumer Report would give you a good indication on how the particular company is rating in handling claims. Another possibility is talking to people who have had their insurance with certain companies and how they've been treated when they have a claim.
A little bit later on in this conversation I want to get into car insurance, but there's a general impression of the public, I think, that in the area of car insurance, that if you turn in one or two claims, that your premiums go very, very high. What's the situation with homeowners insurance? If you turn in that frozen pipe for $600 of damage or $1,500 worth of damage, am I going to then see a $200 increase in my premium?
What the companies have been doing over the past several years have been adding merit rating to the homeowners' policies. Individuals who have had good claim experience receive some additional premium reduction on their insurance costs. They have also seen, if you have a frequency of claims, you can also see your rates go up. Your rates will not go up if you have a single loss. Everyone is entitled, and that's why they buy insurance, to have protection for a claim. But the situation where individuals are having a very serious frequency problem could see their rates change, and I think that's something that should be discussed with the agent on should I turn a claim in or should I not.
Of course, it depends on the size of the claim, too.
Absolutely. What we are seeing today, more and more individuals going to the $250, $500, and $1,000 deductible with the thought of premium reduction for those higher deductibles and maximum protection on their insurance. So more and more people are becoming less conscious for the smaller claims, being more concerned with a major loss like a fire or water damage or a theft.
So theft is also covered. If somebody comes in and vandalizes my house, that would be covered under
Yes,
the normal homeowners.
the homeowners is a broad policy from the standpoint of providing several types of coverages. The main coverage, of course, fire and lightning and wind, water, and theft. Those are the major coverages, but they're broad enough to include several other items.
I wanted to get back, just before we leave this topic, you'd mentioned earlier flood insurance.
Yes.
I want to make it clear, as far as I know, flood insurance is usually separate from your homeowners.
That's
and a lot of times it's not even written by the same
That is
company.
correct.
Is there a federal program or something, as I understand?
There are
for
two,
flooding?
yes. Flood insurance in Athens originally started through the National Flood Program several years ago to provide coverage for individuals in Athens proper. That has since been expanded to the county. Several years ago, insurance companies began writing that along with the National Flood Program. So you can buy flood insurance not only through the National Flood Program, but also through individual insurance companies. It is a separate policy from the standard home policy.
What would the normal flood insurance cover? Would it cover all damage that's done by a flood, or is it just damage to the structure itself without contents?
You can purchase coverage strictly on the home. That's a requirement of the lending institution that the home is insured. If an individual is concerned about the contents, that's a possibility to add contents coverage to the policy.
Thanks, Bob. Bob and I will return after this commercial break, and when we do, we're going to continue the discussion on different kinds of insurance, possibly medical insurance and car insurance. Welcome back to Straightforward Conversation. My guest this evening is Bob Handley, Vice President of Matthews Insurance Agency. Bob, I'd like to ask you now about the next most probably frequent insurance that people have, and that's car insurance. Tell us first, or tell me first, is it possible to have a combined policy between your homeowner's policy and your car insurance policy? And are there advantages to doing that?
Yes, there is. Several years ago, the insurance carriers became aware of some additional things they could do for people when they write their home and their auto insurance. The big thing is combining both those coverages into a single policy. The advantage to the insurer, the insuring public, is that they receive some additional benefits premium-wise, some reduction, and also some broadening of coverage. So yes, it is definitely, I think, a good idea to look at combining your home and your autos together in each particular situation.
We know that there's liability coverage, there's collision coverage, and there's comprehensive coverage. Tell me what they are.
Okay. Of course, the most important thing is your liability protection.
In fact, there's a law that says you have.
Yes, and that's something that Ohio says now that everyone should have a liability insurance. Protection for damages to another person's property, another person's automobile, and also bodily injuries to another person. That's the liability. What we call physical damage is the comprehensive fire, theft, glass coverage, deer collision, and of course collision or upset to your own automobile.
So collision would repair my own vehicle if I were at fault
Yes.
in the accident.
Yes.
And if the other person were at fault, presumably his insurance company.
His
does.
liability would take care of your injuries.
If he doesn't follow the law in Ohio and have liability insurance, is there other types of insurance that I could have that would take care of my...
Your own individual auto insurance provides uninsured motorist protection from someone who is uninsured. So any injuries that you or your passenger would sustain or any damage to your automobile could be covered under your own uninsured motorist protection out of your own auto policy.
What does Ohio do to try to enforce the carrying of liability insurance?
I think Ohio's done a good job in the last couple of years, and I think a lot of that stems to the technology that we have. If an individual is found to not be carrying public liability insurance, the state will step in, suspend their driving privileges, and also impose a fine on them. So they are working towards requiring everyone to have insurance.
Is there some sort of an accident report that has to be filed for each accident that
Yes.
goes into the State
Yes.
Department of Insurance?
Yes. Any automobile accident in the state of Ohio over a $400 limit requires a state crash report, which is basically evidence of insurance or proof of insurance. I think the city of Athens and the Athens Police Department do a good job in accidents here in Athens in providing the information necessary for an individual to make that necessary report to the state. And your own insurance agent should work with you to secure that information and send that form into the state 30 days from the date of the accident.
I want to ask you real quickly, we're running out of time here, but are rental cars covered also under your normal
Under the
insurance
normal
plan?
policy, you have liability protection and also physical damage protection under your auto. But again, I think each individual should check their own insurance to make sure how their auto policy pertains to a rental car.
That's certainly an important feature because normally in rental insurance is fairly expensive.
About $7 or $8 a day for their protection, yes,
And a lot of times it would be covered under your own policy.
at no additional cost.
And you'll issue a letter if you're the agent to that
Yes,
effect.
yes.
I'd like to wind up tonight's discussion with you and just ask you generally to tell me, as a consumer, why should I have insurance instead of just putting my money in my savings account?
Well, I think it transfers the financial risk that an individual has from his own pocket or bank account to someone else at a very reasonable cost of a few $100s a year for home insurance, $300 or $400 maybe a year for auto insurance. I think that's a good way of transferring the risk of a possible large payout to someone other than yourself in your own pocketbook.
Thank you, Bob. It's been a very interesting discussion.
Thank you,
This has
Garry.
been Straightforward Conversation with Garry Hunter, and good evening.